God, what should I do? Have you ever stood at a crossroads in life and said, God, I don't know what to do? Not what should they do? Not what does everyone else think I should do, but God, what should I do? We've all been there. Big decisions, small decisions, emotional decisions. And sometimes the hardest part isn't choosing, it's waiting. Let me tell you something that will set you free today. Not knowing what to do does not mean God has left you. It often means he's teaching you to trust him in a deeper way. See, we love clarity. We want God to give us the full blueprint, the timeline, the guarantee, and the backup plan all at once. But God usually says, just take the next step. I'll handle the rest. And here's where we get stuck. We panic. We rush. We overthink. We ask 10 people instead of asking God once. But when you don't know what to do, the worst thing you can do is nothing with purpose. The best thing you can do is pause and pray. Prayer isn't just asking God for answers. Prayer is positioning your heart to hear him. Sometimes God is quiet not because he's absent, but because he's working on you. Now listen closely. God is not the author of confusion. If you're overwhelmed, anxious, and pressured, that's not how God leads. God leads with peace. Peace doesn't mean the decision is easy. Peace means deep down you know God is in it. And let me say this plainly, if you already know to forgive, do it. If you already know to let go, do it. If you already know to step out in faith, do it. Because obedience unlocks clarity. We often say, God, show me what to do, and then I'll obey. But God says, obey and I'll show you what's next. You don't need to see the whole staircase, just take the next step. And here's the good news, God is not expecting perfection from you. He's looking for trust. So today, if your heart is crying out, God, what should I do? Take a breath. Let go of the pressure. Do the right thing you already know to do. And trust that the God who brought you this far will not leave you without direction. He is faithful. He is present. And he is guiding you one step at a time. Amen. When you don't know what to do, the most natural reaction is to panic. Your mind starts racing, your heart feels heavy, and suddenly every possible outcome looks overwhelming. You feel pressure to decide quickly, to fix everything immediately, to have an answer right now. But panic has never produced wisdom. Panic clouds judgment, fuels fear, and pushes us to make choices we later regret. That is why, in moments of uncertainty, the most powerful thing you can do is pause and pray. Pausing does not mean giving up or being passive. It means refusing to let fear take control. It is a deliberate decision to slow down, breathe, and acknowledge that you are not alone in this moment. Prayer shifts the atmosphere inside you before anything changes around you. When you pray, you are reminding yourself that God is bigger than your confusion. You may not understand the situation, but he does. You may not see a way forward, but he already has a plan. Prayer is not just about asking God to fix the problem. It is about aligning your heart with his peace. Often, the situation does not change immediately, but something inside you does. Anxiety begins to loosen its grip, and fear starts to lose its voice. Confusion is not a failure. It does not mean you are weak, unspiritual, or off track. Many people think that strong faith means always knowing exactly what to do, but that simply is not true. Some of the greatest moments of growth come when you admit, God, I don't know. Confusion can actually be an invitation to trust God on a deeper level than before. When everything makes sense, it is easy to rely on your own understanding. When things don't make sense, you learn to rely on God's wisdom instead. In times of confusion, God is often teaching you to walk by faith, not by sight. He may not give you all the answers at once, but he will give you enough grace for today. The pause allows you to stop striving, and prayer opens the door for God to work in ways you cannot see yet. What feels like uncertainty may actually be a sacred space where God is strengthening your trust, shaping your character, and preparing you for what comes next. God often guides us one step at a time, and that can be frustrating because we want the whole picture. We want to know how everything will turn out before we move forward. We want certainty before commitment. But God's way is usually different. He rarely lays out the entire plan in advance, not because he is withholding something good, but because he is building trust. If he showed you every detail, you might rely more on the plan than on him. Step-by-step guidance keeps your heart dependent, attentive, and humble. It teaches you to listen closely instead of rushing ahead. Many people get stuck because they are waiting for complete clarity. They say, God, show me the whole path, and then I'll walk it. But faith does not work that way. Faith begins when you take a step without knowing where the next one will land. God gives direction like a flashlight, not like a floodlight. A flashlight only shows you enough light for the next few steps, and that is usually all you need. When you take the step he has already shown you, more light comes. Sometimes the step is small and ordinary. It might be making a phone call, having an honest conversation, showing up even when you feel unsure, or choosing to do the right thing when no one is watching. These small acts of obedience may not feel spiritual or dramatic, but they are often how God moves you forward. Waiting for something big while ignoring what God has already placed in front of you can delay progress. Step-by-step guidance also protects you. If God revealed everything at once, it might overwhelm you or tempt you to quit before you even begin. He knows your limits and your timing. Each step prepares you for the next one, strengthening your faith and confidence along the way. What feels slow to you is often purposeful to God, shaping you while he leads you forward. Peace is one of the clearest ways God confirms direction, yet it is often misunderstood. Peace does not mean the absence of challenges or fear. It does not mean the decision will be easy or comfortable. Peace is a deep, steady assurance that settles in your spirit even when your mind has questions. Pressure shouts, but peace whispers. Pressure demands immediate action, while peace invites trust and patience. Learning to recognize the difference can save you from many wrong turns. When a decision is driven by fear, urgency, or the need to please others, it often comes with heaviness and restlessness. You may feel rushed, tense, or internally conflicted. That kind of pressure drains your energy and clouds your judgment. God's guidance, on the other hand, brings a sense of calm clarity. Even if the path ahead looks challenging, there is a quiet confidence that says this is right. That peace acts like an inner compass, helping you discern whether you are moving in the right direction. Peace grows when you spend time with God. The more you pray, the more sensitive you become to what feels right and what feels forced. Sometimes peace comes after you make the decision, not before, but it still confirms that you trusted God instead of fear. There are moments when the logical choice looks good on paper, but something inside you feels unsettled. Paying attention to that uneasiness can protect you from choices that look right but are not aligned with God's will. Peace does not mean you will never feel afraid. It means fear does not control you. You can feel nervous and still be at peace. You can feel unsure and still move forward with confidence. When peace leads, it anchors your heart, steadies your thoughts, and allows you to move forward without being pushed by anxiety or doubt. Obedience often sounds simple, but it can be one of the hardest things to practice, especially when clarity feels far away. Many people believe that understanding comes first and obedience follows, but in spiritual growth, it is usually the other way around. God often waits for us to act on what we already know before revealing what we want to know. When we delay obedience hoping for more information, we can remain stuck in confusion longer than necessary. There are moments when God has already spoken clearly about the basics: love, forgiveness, integrity, patience, honesty, humility. These are not complicated instructions, yet they are frequently ignored because they feel uncomfortable or inconvenient. We ask God for direction about our future while avoiding what he has already asked us to do in the present. Obedience is not about doing something extraordinary. It is about being faithful in what seems ordinary and sometimes difficult. Clarity often comes while you are moving, not while you are waiting. When you take a step of obedience, even without full understanding, something begins to shift. Your heart becomes more open, your spirit more sensitive, and your ability to hear God more refined. Obedience positions you for insight. It is like opening a door. Once you step through, you can see what was hidden before. Refusing to obey keeps that door closed, no matter how much you pray for answers. Sometimes obedience means letting go of habits, relationships, or attitudes that feel familiar but are holding you back. Other times it means choosing to act with kindness when bitterness feels justified, or trusting God when logic demands control. These choices may not seem directly connected to the clarity you are seeking, but they are deeply connected. God cares about the condition of your heart as much as the direction of your steps. Obedience builds spiritual confidence. Each time you do what you know is right, your faith grows stronger and doubt loses its grip. You begin to recognize God's voice more easily because you have learned to respond to it. Even when obedience does not produce immediate results, it produces inner alignment. That alignment clears away distraction, sharpens discernment, and creates space for God to guide you more clearly. God does not reveal more to those who know more, but to those who are willing to trust him with what they already know. Obedience is not a punishment or a test. It is a pathway that leads you forward, often quietly, steadily unfolding direction as you walk in it. Faith often asks us to move before we fully understand, to step into uncertainty while trusting that God is already ahead of us. This can feel risky because our natural instinct is to wait until everything is clear, until we feel ready, until we have all the answers lined up. But faith is not about knowing the entire path. It is about trusting the one who made the path. Every journey of faith begins with a decision to trust God's heart over our own understanding. When you take that first step, even a small one, you create momentum for God to work. Fear is the enemy of clarity. It whispers doubts, magnifies problems, and convinces you that inaction is safer than obedience. But fear is not from God. When you feel fear creeping in, it is often a signal that God is about to stretch your faith. Fear and faith cannot coexist in the same space. One will dominate. Choosing faith over fear doesn't mean the fear disappears instantly. It means you act despite the fear, trusting that God's presence is stronger than your uncertainty. Each step taken in faith chips away at fear and builds confidence in God's guidance. Trusting God also means releasing control. Often we are paralyzed because we want to hold on to every detail, to dictate the outcome, and to manage the risks ourselves. But God's guidance comes when we surrender control, when we allow Him to lead instead of trying to force our own way. Surrender does not mean passivity. It is an active choice to obey what we know is right while leaving the future in God's hands. When you surrender control, clarity starts to emerge because your heart is no longer fighting God's direction. It is aligned with it. Patience is a part of obedience and trust. God works in His timing, not ours, and waiting does not mean you are failing. It means God is preparing the right path, the right opportunities, and the right lessons. Waiting can feel frustrating, especially when you are eager for answers, but the pause is often a sacred space where God is shaping your character, strengthening your resolve, and teaching you to rely on Him rather than your own understanding. Patience, combined with faithful action in the things you already know to do, positions you perfectly to receive the guidance you are seeking.